All parties in the matter of Picone versus Benson. Step forward, please.
Technical writer Louis Piccone is suing his ex-girlfriend, nurse Frances Benson, for a series of loans when she was short on money. Frances says Louis never told her he was married.
Mr. Piccone, you were separated from your wife for a brief period of time. And you were separated because there was evidently some sort of an altercation. She had a restraining order against you. Is that right?
Yes.
And because you probably couldn't be alone for very long, you hooked up with Miss Benson.
Yes.
But you didn't tell Miss Benson about this brief interlude from your wife right away. In any event, Miss Benson was new to the neighborhood, had a few financial problems, and according to you, you made 3 loans to her, totaling $1,200. Then you and your wife reconciled.
That's correct.
And now you want your money back. Miss Benson says she was your girlfriend. She didn't have a lot of money. She was recently moved to the area. Where were you from?
Texas.
And you do what most boyfriends do. You helped her out, gave her money, and she was very appreciative. It wasn't until after you went back to your wife that you wanted the money back. That
Correct.
Did he tell you he was married?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Was he wearing his wedding ring?
No, ma'am, he was not.
What?
Well, I did tell her that I was married. I didn't have my wedding ring on, but I did tell her the situation that I was in.
What situations did you tell her, Mr. Piccone?
That my wife and I were separated at that time, and that I wasn't sure what was going to happen.
Does that sound familiar?
Actually, what he said was that they were going through a divorce. And then I later found out about the domestic restraining order against him.
Why don't you tell me about the loans that you're suing for, Mr. Piccone?
Maybe 2.5 weeks or so after I met her, she had made a statement that she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to go out with us. And I pressed a little bit, and it turned out that she was worried because she didn't have enough money. And so I said, well, I can lend you $100, you know, and you can pay me back when you get paid. And she's an RN, so I figured she makes pretty good money. She can pay me back, you know, at her next paycheck. Then the following week, the same type of scenario. So I gave her another $100 then. I said, you pay me back on your next payday. When her payday came around, which was October 4th, then she sent me text messages and says, please don't talk to me about this. I'm embarrassed, but I need about $1,000 to get my head above water because I wrote some hot checks before I left Texas. And so later that night I went over there and talked to her. I had the cash on me, so I gave her $1,000.
Well, what did you say to her and what did she say to you?
She explained that she was just behind and that her family was...
What behind in what, Mr. Piccone?
With the hot checks, and she said that nobody in her family...
Explain the hot checks. I'm sure that you asked her for more of an explanation than just hot checks.
Actually, I didn't. I didn't ask what the hot checks were for. I just took her word for it. She was a very nice person. I mean, I didn't have any reason to suspect her of, you know, of lying or anything otherwise. I mean, I had always thought she was a really just an upfront, nice person.
Who are you?
I'm his cousin, and I went out with him that night, and I also... He asked me whether or not it was a good idea if he should loan this girl the money. And I told him that he knows her best. And
you mean you're talking about the $1,000?
Yes, the $1,000. And I told him he knows her best, and if he thought it was a good idea, he might as well go ahead and do it. And
do you remember when that was, sir?
The beginning of October.
When did Mr. Piccone go back to his wife?
Mr. Piccone went back to his wife towards the end of October.
When did you tell Miss Benson that you were going back to your wife?
I don't think I ever did. We had stopped communicating by the time that I ended up back with her.
Why?
Well, because she told me to F off in so many words on the text.
Why?
Because she came out to the club when my cousin and I were out and brought his girlfriend to try intentionally to set him up, just to catch him. She was really jealous, his ex-girlfriend. And so there was a fight that night. And
so you had an argument with her?
We had an argument, and then...
Okay. Okay, Miss Benson, go ahead.
I had asked him, I said, I am having some financial problems. He was wondering why I was upset. I told him I needed around $1,000, and he gave me the $1,000, and I expected that it was a gift.
What kind of financial problems were you having, Miss Benson?
Well,
you're a nurse, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Why should you have such terrible financial problems?
Because I helped my family back home in Texas.
Oh, that's not a reason. That's baloney.
Well, it's the truth.
No. You don't borrow from strangers so you can help your family.
No, I didn't
Sorry.
borrow. I didn't borrow the $1,000 from him.
You don't take money from strangers so you could support your family back in Texas. What's wrong with your family?
I just have my grandmother. That's all I have.
So, if that's all you have, explain to me why you left Texas and your grandmother.
Because I got a traveling nurse position, which was supposed to help me make more money, and they were going to pay for my housing and everything. And so I thought it was an opportunity to get ahead. And so far, it's panning out, but...
But what?
I mean, so yes, now financially I'm okay.
Great, then you pay him back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Please excuse, you may step out.
22-year-old warehouse worker Kevin Naughton is suing his ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old assembly line printer Glory Jackson, for stabbing him in the arm. Glory says Kevin was attacking her.
Order. All rise. And this is number 312 on the calendar in the matter of Naughton versus Jackson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Mr. Naughton, there was a time when you and Miss Jackson had a relationship. Is that right?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you had an argument. And during the course of that argument, Miss Jackson stabbed you with a knife.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no question that you were cut, you received stitches. You want her to pay for that assault.
Yes.
Miss Jackson says she was defending herself because you were in the process of assaulting her and you actually ran into the knife, which she had picked up for protection because you were hitting her. When did this assault take place, sir?
On the 19th of July.
Now, Miss Jackson has a counterclaim. Miss Jackson says that because of you assaulting her and her defending herself, she was arrested, and she had to pay attorneys and she had other costs. So she is counterclaiming for not only the costs of her defending herself, but also for the assault that she alleges you committed against her. Correct?
Yes.
Now, 19th of July, 2004?
Yes.
You were at her house. What were you doing at her house, Mr. Naughton?
Well, she had called me on my cell phone, and she had just had a baby, and she had told me that the baby was mine. But the whole time when she was pregnant, she said she was pregnant by some Marine dude in California.
A submarine dude?
Yeah, some Marine guy. She brags about him all the time like he's the best person in the world. So anyway, I come over to see the baby. I'm like, I thought you said it was his. And she just had it, because before she had a baby, like a couple years ago, she had a baby, she said it was mine. And I took a blood test, it wasn't even mine. So she was doing it again, so I'm like, it's not mine. I went to go look at the baby, and I said it didn't look like me. So she gets mad. She tells me to get out of her house, excuse my language. So as I'm leaving, I'm going out the door. I turn around, she's coming at me with a knife. I put up my arm, and she stabs me in the arm. She stabbed me so hard, the knife broke. And I ran outside, and the ambulance had came and picked me up out the street. I was laying in the middle of the street.
All right, Miss Jackson, you want to tell me your version of the events.
On the morning of July 19th, Mr. Naughton was over at my house.
How did he get there?
He called me and told me that he couldn't get into his mother's house and asked me if he could spend a night. I don't even know Mr. Naughton's telephone number at that time. Okay, so I said, sure. He came over that night. He spent the night. That morning, I was on the phone with my sister, and okay, so then I took the baby in there to lay him down. Then he said, quit making all the noise. I'm tired. I'm tired. I said, I know why you tired. You don't have no job no more. And then he jumps up and he's like, don't be telling them bees my business. Came in my face. I'm in the bathroom. I was about to get in the bathtub. Then he pushed me, and I proceeded towards him to, move him. But he's punching me as I'm walking towards him. So I'm running out.
Where is it? Just a second. Where is he punching you?
He's punching me all here. He didn't ever hit me in my face. He just punched me in my body, my upper top of my body.
Now, were you dressed or undressed as you were going to take a bath?
No, I still had on my pajamas, a nightgown.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so then I took off running I just ran to the first place. I ran to the kitchen. There was a knife on the counter. He still hit me in the back as I'm running. I grabbed the knife, and I'm doing it like this, saying, Kevin could just get out my house. I'm telling him to get out my house. And he wouldn't leave, and he came towards me, and that's when he got cut. I never swung the knife to cut him. I just held the knife out so he could leave. I could not run out the house because my children were in the house, in their room, sleep. And that's how it happened. Then he took off running out the door. And I did call the police, but his phone call got through before mine, or I don't know what happened. But
just a second. He ran out the door. He was cut.
I didn't know he was cut. Okay.
He ran out the door. He was cut. Who called the ambulance?
The police must have called the ambulance.
Okay. Now, when did you call the police?
I called the police as soon as I shut the door and locked the door. I called them.
Okay. Did you call the police on your house phone?
No, I called off my cell phone.
Where was your cell phone?
It was on the couch.
You're her sister.
Yes, yes.
You sure you want to do this?
Yes.
I'd think twice about it. But if you're sure you want to do this, I'm ready for you.
Okay.
Step up here. Button your shirt.
It's oh.
It isn't buttoned. Did you go to a preliminary hearing when your sister was arrested?
No.
Did you ever tell a detective that you were on the phone with your sister during this altercation?
Yes.
That was a lie.
No,
No, that was a lie.
How was
Because
it a lie?
That was a lie. And I'm going to tell you how I know that was a lie.
How?
Because you just told me 2 seconds ago that you were going into the bathroom in your pajamas. You were still in your pajamas drawing a bath. I'm speaking, and he came into the bathroom, and you started to tussle with him, and you pushed him away from you.
I didn't push him away from me.
Yes, he started.
It's in the letter
I'm
statement
speaking.
that he wrote.
Listen
He wrote
to
me a letter.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. You said you pushed him away from you.
No, I ran. After he pushed me, I was running towards him.
And then you ran outside, and you got a knife. And you held up the knife. And then he got cut. And then you went back to the couch to pick up a phone, which is where you told me the cell phone was, where you called the police. However, in your answer that I read very carefully, you say, the DA eventually dismissed the charges because my sister had stayed on the other end of the phone while this incident occurred. No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
It's in this letter. He even admitted to her that he knows I was on the phone. I was on the phone the whole time. He wrote me a letter stating
You mean to tell me that the phone was in the bathroom?
I was on the phone.
In the bathroom getting ready to take a bath?
On the bathroom. I ran my bath. But I was
Just a second. How did the phone then get on the couch?
Because I threw it down as I was running.
Let me see the letter.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her last baby, she named after me, and it wasn't even mine. And this one, she's supposed to be with some Marine dude.
Yours, though, so what are you talking about? I
Gotta keep the players straight, folks.
And later today,
After I picked her up, I noticed the bruises